position in our charts of most talked about skinnies.
Being thin, you lose your shape, you lose your hips, you lose your breasts, and again, you look androgynous. I think sexy is a woman who has curves. Sexy is like a J-Lo. Sexy is like a Marilyn Monroe. That's a proper woman, and that's what women really should look like and be celebrated for. That we don't look like men. What's the point of that?
And there's good biological reason why curves beat bones when it comes to sexual attraction.
From an evolutionary perspective, men are actually going to be more attracted to women who can bear children than they are to very skinny women. And actually, that requires them to be physically fit and also to have wider hips that are associated with being able to give birth more easily. And I'm sure that what's happening here is that women are actually mainly trying to impress other women rather than men.
I don't know any men that see the skeletal look as even being remotely sexy. Men like curves. That's a fact.
Coming up, we'll discover the destructive depths some celebrities descend to and find out if there's any way back for Amy Winehouse. Extreme skinny celebrities combined weight-watching column inches with body mass index to arrive at a ranking of the famously thin. At number 5 on this year's list is blonde bombshell Jessica Simpson, who in the past 12 months has been hitting the headlines for all the wrong reasons. First, she fell victim to a fashion faux pas that caused a media meltdown, and then she succumbed to the heartbreak diet.
When Jessica was playing Daisy Duke in The Dukes of Hazzard, she probably had the best body around.
Jessica endured a punishing regime to get her body in shape for the Daisy Duke role, including 2-hour workouts 6 days a week. But earlier this year, acres of news coverage devoted to Jessica's bod were anything but positive.
She got into a lot of trouble this year when a lot of the American press had a picture of her at a concert looking like she'd put some weight on, and oh my God, the whole planet seemed to go for her.
She got slated for those pictures of her on stage in the high-waisted jeans, and whichever stylist put her in that giant chunky belt, because it really added to her waist. She definitely had put on weight, but also when you're shot from below like that, everything just added up to an unflattering photo.
I think anybody who feels that the entire world is ready to comment on a fat day, including the president. President Obama was asked about, Jessica Simpson that time when she looked so awful in those photos. I mean, that's a lot of pressure to put on any young girl, and I think it's starting to show on Jessica.
Maybe it's the girl next door image that's so appealing about Jessica. She seems to live a life of ups and downs, which naturally manifest in the way her body looks.
She's been through a lot. Her beloved dog Daisy was killed, was eaten by a coyote, and I think we've seen some of these personal crises in terms of her weight and the way it's affected her.
After her divorce from Nick Lackey, Jessica found love with Dallas cowboy Tony Romo. But then in July, heartbreak struck, triggering another weight drop.
With Jessica, when you see her so in love and looking happy, I mean, it happens to all of us, doesn't it? You eat out, you feel good about yourself, you know that you're loved, you are loving somebody, and then suddenly to get dumped on her 29th birthday, I mean, come on, how cruel is that? And actually your body responds to that, so you don't feel like eating, you do feel down, you don't want to get out of bed.
Jessica's response was to throw herself into getting her body back on track. She's reported to have chucked out the junk food and was seen working out with a trainer, claiming to have lost 10 pounds in 10 days. Although her BMI is a healthy 23.4, hefty column inches ensure her chart position of number 5, thanks to the media frenzy about her changing size. One celeb whose disordered lifestyle has alarm bells ringing non-stop in the press is number 4 in our top 10 skinny stars of the year, Amy Winehouse. Amy's family and friends have gone on the record about the problems she's had with her weight, and Amy herself has admitted to eating disorders, including anorexia and bulimia. That's before we even get started on the other ways she's been abusing her body.
Amy Winehouse, such a car crash when you look at her, and I think there isn't anyone who wouldn't want to just give her a hug and a pizza, because she looks like she needs both.
But it wasn't always like this. A few short years ago, Amy was a healthy-looking teenager with curves in all the right places and everything to live for. Who could have predicted the dramatic turn her life would take?
First album came out, did really well. Then she disappeared and came back with the second album, huge hits, but started to shrink before our eyes. You know, the hair got bigger, the eye makeup got wilder, and then of course she went and married Blake. And really that was the start of the downfall for her.
Huge and sudden success, coupled with troubles in her marriage, meant that Amy bought wholesale into the sex, drugs and rock and roll package, and the world watched as she began to unravel before our very eyes.
She went over the edge. She went from looking kind of slim to skinny to, oh my goodness, have you seen her? She became freak show Amy Winehouse. And with all celebrities, they've got to kind of manage that line. They want to be slim enough so the rest of us are really amazed without being absolutely appalled.
Amy's life became a chronicle of drunken brawls, drug-filled days, and crazy, disorientated nights. Amy's appearance became more and more worrying, with her weight dropping to alarming levels. Desperate measures were called for, and she entered rehab on numerous occasions. But it didn't take much before she was back to her old habits. Finally, in a last-ditch attempt to sort herself out, she took off for the Caribbean. Would 8 months in the sun be the miracle cure that Amy needed?
When she did go to St. Lucia, things seemed to get better, and I know she loves it there, but she still looks the same. And that, I think, is a very physical indicator of her mental health. She doesn't seem stable at all, does she?
Swapping Camden for the Caribbean wasn't exactly what the doctor ordered. Images of Amy cavorting in St. Lucia haven't convinced us that she's back on the straight and narrow, and reports of her continuing bizarre behaviour have stacked up column inches all year.
Amy Winehouse could not have looked worse before she went to St. Lucia, so yeah, she's looking marginally better. But these problems can't be solved with an extended holiday. No one is going to change their habits without help.
The Amy Winehouse train crash continues. She's making the front pages of magazines and papers, headline news everywhere. And again, it's not for music. She still hasn't got round to making that third album. I mean, you kind of want her, you kind of will her to get better, sort herself out.
With a scarily low BMI of 17.9 and weighing only 98 pounds, it's not surprising Amy ranks number 4 in our chart. For all the masses of press coverage, the overriding desire is to see Amy get better.
Is she going to live? She's not looking like she's back to normal at all.
At least the scabs have gone on her face, at least the kind of bruising that was all over her. She's still Amy Winehouse. She's covered in tattoos. She's a rock and roll girl. Fortunately, she's put on a little bit of weight. She's not quite as emaciated as what she was. And I think everyone's kind of behind her and just hoping that she can get back on track. But who knows with that one.
With Amy causing yet more headlines, not only because of her behaviour, but this time an enhanced bust line, the world waits to find out what will happen next in the Amy Winehouse story. Coming in at number 3 in our poll of most talked about skinny celebrities is comeback queen Britney.
I think we're fascinated by Britney Spears and her weight because the first most of us ever saw of her was when she was about that wide and she was, you know, impossibly perfect. And then she went so off the rails. I mean, we do like a soap when it comes to women and weight. Somebody who keeps their weight stable, very dull. You want big swings.
The disappoints, with pictures of endless trips to the supermarket and fast food chains dominating magazine spreads and front covers. Back in 2008, Britney had the mother of all megastar meltdowns when she was forcibly admitted to a psychiatric unit, a sign of how bad the situation had become.
When she fell off the wagon, she kind of became uncontrolled in all senses, and that you could see in terms of her weight.
When you hear about all these celebrities who are, you know, reportedly having all these mental health issues, it's so interesting to look at how they're portrayed. When they're slightly overweight or their hair doesn't look right, you know, they're out of control. But the minute they start losing weight, well, you know, all of a sudden the press changes and look, they're looking great again.
When I actually spoke to some of Britney's friends, they were even talking about the end of her life. They were talking about the fact that she wasn't going to make it for another year if she continued the way she was.
Luckily, Brit managed to pull herself back from the brink.